Today we are working on collards because of course tomorrow is New Year's Day. The first thing we need to do is get these washed because, well, even if I wasn't going to do what I'm doing today, they would still need to be washed. But I'm going to can the collards, and we're going to use a method that uses no fat, but you're not going to miss it, I promise. So again, our first step is to wash them, and then we're going to de-stem them. So let's get busy. Going to put them here and let them dry just a little bit while I wash the others. Alrighty guys, we have our 3 bunches of collards already stemmed and washed. Now, this is the next part. We're just deal with an avalanche of leaves. What I like to do is turn my leaf over and just pinch it along this thick stem in the middle and pull the leaf off. You can cut it. One way is just as easy as the other. And these I will save for my chickens. I already have a big bag of scraps from where we pulled these off of the stalks. And I will fold these. Actually, I'll lay them out first. And when I have a big stack, then I'll cut them in half and show you the next part. Decent sized stack, go ahead and cut them in half at the tips. Put the stacks together. And you don't have to do it like this. This is just what I do. Whatever works for you is fine. Then I take mine and cut the leaves in half. And then, oops. Uh-oh. And I put this stack on top of this stack and just chop them into small pieces. You can make these as big or as small as you would like. And then I'm going to put them in the pot. And we'll continue doing this until they're all done. Let me show you one other way to stem these. Just run a sharp knife along the edge of your stem, and voila, done. So use whatever method you would like to use. It works, just get it done. But y'all, that crunch, Melissa and I were just talking about it, that crunch when you're chopping them, so satisfying. This is Alyssa's first time doing collards with us. I don't know why I said with us.
With us.
It's her first time doing collards, period. With me, not us. Okay, we are down to our last few leaves. We're going to chop these. And you guys, I said Happy New Year's Eve because I know you will be watching this on New Year's Eve, but this is actually in real time New Year's Eve. We got through the storms today. Not too bad. Had a little hail, ton of lightning. And so I had to do supper when that was all finished. And I wanted to go ahead and get a jump start on this because our plans for tomorrow changed. And it looks like we'll be having some company. So I want to get this done as quickly as possible tomorrow because I don't know who all's coming. I'm excited they're coming. But anyway, this is all prepped. So they're all in the pot except for one little leaf over there that Alyssa's working on, and these few little here that we'll finish up quickly. But anyhow, this looks like a lot of collards, but it's really, once it cooks down, I'll be doing good to get 5 quarts out of that. I don't look to get that many, but you know, there's always wishful thinking. So anyway, we'll be back in the morning when we're ready to finish. Good morning. It's actually New Year's Eve today. Our collards are ready to go. They've been in the refrigerator all night, and I've just set them on the stove. And what I'm going to do now is pour in 1 to 2 cartons of beef broth. If you've done collards before, you know that this looks like a lot, but it actually isn't, because they will cook down a lot. I've also got the canner on the stove, and it's got 3 inches of water in it, and that's heating up so that when we put the hot collards in the jars and put the jars in the canner, the jars won't crack, because that's the worst. Sometimes you'll just have a jar crack anyway. Oh, that's just life. It will happen. It's discouraging, but it's okay. Whoa. Getting a little crazy already. All right. Let's start with that. Let's turn them on. And this is my crazy eye, guys, so I'm not even going to turn it to medium. We'll just let it sit right there and get hot. Let those cook down. And over here, I have everything ready to go. I have our lids and our rings, my little funnel, my slotted spoon, because we will have to fish the collards out of the broth. And I did not show y'all this part last night. I know that I won't have enough collards to fill my canner, so I went ahead and soaked some dried black-eyed peas, because you've got to have your black-eyed peas with your collards on New Year's. If you are from the South, you know that. So I also have some jars. And speaking of the jars, let's talk about those for just a second. Normally when you're doing collards and peas, you would want the wide mouth jars. Most vegetables are better in wide mouth jars because they are easier to fill and to get the vegetables out when you're ready to eat. But because of the craziness in our world, those are the only lids I have for wide mouth. So I only have 2 wide mouth jars. Everything else is narrow mouth. It's not as easy, but it works just fine. So you guys use what you have. Use what you can find. Guys, do you remember when I said that we're going to do these with no fat in them? This, my friends, is your secret. I've already put beef broth in there, but to strengthen the flavor, we will add some of this, maybe 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons, 4, I don't really know, just until the broth inside of the collards, not inside, but in the collards, tastes the way you want it to taste. I like doing this way so that we don't have extra fat in our diet, but we don't have to sacrifice flavor. Now, also let me add, you can put any seasoning in here you would like. Onion powder, garlic powder. Goodness, add some salsa in there if it's homemade and you know what it tastes like. Or store-bought if you like that. You can go ahead and put pepper sauce in here. Peppers, jalapenos, whatever you like, guys. But for us, I just like to can mine plain. And then when we open the jar, add to it whatever we might want for that particular meal. Because for some things you make, you might not want a particular flavor that you've already added to the collards. So for me, it's just beef broth and better than bouillon beef base. You guys, I've done it this way for years. I've had people who don't like collards actually eat my collards and ask for them for the next holiday. So that's our little secret. Here we go, guys. I just added the better than bouillon beef base. And you can see how much they have shrank down. And my broth is nice and dark brown. It's not pale like it is out of the carton. Oh, and I did go ahead and add one more carton of the beef broth because I want to make sure, I've got to stop saying that because I want to make sure that I have enough for my black-eyed peas. And the goal here is just to shrink the leaves. You're not trying to cook them because they will cook as you can them and be nice and tender, and they will be perfect just as soon as you open the jar. All you will have to do is heat them up, guys. This is one of my favorite things to have on hand. I don't do it enough because it is one of the recipes that requires more work than others, but it's worth it. I have to remind myself of that each year. It takes a long time. It's not hard, it just takes a long time. And this year really helped having Alyssa in the kitchen, taking those stems out and chopping them up. So once this broth comes up to a boil, I'm calling it done. My leaves have already done their shrinking, and that's the goal. You just don't want a lot of shrinkage in your jar. You want to be able to fit the collards in correctly. Now I have broken the rules and done them raw. It works. Don't tell the proper books that it works, but it works. But you do have more shrinkage. And when I have the time, I do like to go ahead and cook them down. So, and that's the way the book tells you to, so that's the way I'm giving it to you today. But you can do with that information what you wish. Y'all ready? Let's get these in the jar. I'll show you how to do one jar, and then I'll do the rest off camera. Just drain them with the slotted spoon, get them down in there, and we're going to leave 1 inch head space. Sorry. Look at my little spoon. I got a set of these for Christmas. Little bamboo spoons. Anyway, we're just gonna push them down in the jar. Just a little bit of the broth. You don't want to pack these too tightly, but you don't want them loose in there either. That's good enough. Well, it's hard to see. Just a few more and then we'll add the broth. Oops. Okay. And then let's get out all the air pockets. Wipe the rim of the jar. I like to line up the word ball so it's facing either the front or the back and not crooked. And finger tight. There's our first jar. We had 4 quarts that were really well packed, and just this half pint. I could put it in a half pint jar and can it with the others, but I'm not. We'll just add this to the collards that we cook tomorrow for our meal. Now, because there are only 4 quarts in there, I want to go ahead and fill up the canner, and I'm going to use our soaked black-eyed peas. So give me a second and I'll get set up for that. All right, now for black-eyed peas that are soaked, you want to fill the jar to 1-inch headspace with peas and the broth. And I'm going to use the broth that I cooked the collards in. I've done that the last few times I've made collards, and it gives them a really unique flavor that we like. It's really good if you have pintos and use this broth with it. And I guess we had pintos, but I need black-eyed peas, so that's what we are doing. Again, remove the air bubbles. Wipe the rim clean. Lid on. I'll just hold my finger there to keep the word ball lined up with the word ball on the jar. And finger tight. That one's ready to go. Come on up here, honey. This is the last jar of the black-eyed peas. It's a little less than a half, 1-inch headspace, but we're just going to go with it. It will be okay. It's more important that you don't overfill the jar than underfill. Still going to 1-inch headspace with the broth. Ta-da! We are done with that part. Whoop, whoop. It's going to be a great new year. Lid on. Ring on. I made a big old mess on this towel. What in the world? Look, work with me. Why do lids and rings do that? These gold ones are terrible. Okay, there we go. Last one. There we go. We have 4 quarts of collards and 4 pints of black-eyed peas. So let's get the lid on. Okay, we're going to line up our arrow. This. And lock down opposite sides of the canner. This is an all-American. It needs to be cleaned. But I want to make sure the space under here is as even as possible. Every few cannings or so, you want to line the rim with a little bit of Vaseline. And it just does fit on my stove. I usually have to pull it out a little bit to do this part. Wait, going the wrong way. Okay. Lock them down evenly. Now you go around and tighten them really well. Oops. Check your space one more time. Doesn't have to be perfectly even, but it's a lot wider here than in the back, so I need to fix that. We'll just make these adjustments a little at a time, and we'll be back when we're ready to turn it on. Now we've got her all evened out. When this gets hot, I'm actually going to get a wet cloth and just go around the top and clean that off, but that's neither here nor there. What we need to do is turn up the heat. Not turn up, we're doing collards. Sorry, bad dad joke. Anyway, when steam starts coming out of this, your stem, you will let it steam for 10 minutes, and then we will put our weight on. So, speaking of that, look down here, Alyssa. You guys, look at what my husband gave me for Christmas, one of my other presents. I love this. I have a home for all my knives, my bowls, my little spoons, my jar opener. I'm just so excited. I love this thing. Anyway, after this is vented, we will put this on. Where I live, I use 10 pounds of pressure. Check your times, check your weights, And then because the collards require the most time, we will let this go for 90 minutes. The black-eyed peas don't really need near that long, but because we have them in with the collards, we just have to let them go. And we'll have some well-done black-eyed peas. But hey, we're in the South, we like it that way. Alrighty, guys. Steam is coming out. So I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for 10 minutes. Okay, I want to turn this to where it says 10. There's the hole. I can't see what I'm doing. And drop it on.
They said they're on their way.
Now, once the gauge comes up to 11 pounds pressure and this starts doing its thing, we will set the timer for 90 minutes. Okay, we are ready to set the timer for 90 minutes. Okay, it is done. I've turned that off. Turn off the heat. And we'll just let it sit. Ow, that's hot. I'm actually sliding it off of the heat. I don't normally recommend moving it, but we'll let the gauge come down. Let me show you. Sorry, I was running. The timer had actually gone off and I was in the back of the house. Let me take this off. Now, focus. Here we go. When the needle rests on this little metal post, we can take off the weight, the jiggler, I'm not quite sure what to call it. We'll take it off and let it sit for a few more minutes before we actually open it. Because if you open this too quickly, you will have a lot of siphoning. And actually right now, while it's still under pressure, you definitely do not want to take that off. Just trust me. Okay, our needle is resting on the metal post. So let's take this off. I might need let me grab something that's a little warm. Okay, let's take this off. And it's okay if you hear a little air coming out, as long as it's just not Huge explosion of air. Now we will let this sit for at least 10 minutes, if not longer, and let it cool down a bit more before we actually loosen the locks. Alright, let's unlock this bad boy.
James recording.
Yes, our company is here. Hi, Micah.
Hello.
Hi, Nathan. Hi, Karis. So I have no photographer. Ah!
Oh my God.
Sorry. Yes, pressure canners still get to me. Okay, now I'm just going to prop it open just a little bit for a few minutes. Let some of the steam escape. Maybe. I will do that, but I will stick a pot holder in there. Okay, there we go. That's what I was trying to do. Just a little crack to let some of the steam escape. And we'll leave this for another 10-15 minutes. And we'll be ready to take out the jars.
Are you still?
Wait, did he just was one?
Yeah. What is that? Stare into the camera.
What is that?
Yes, Mr. Rose.
Give me the rolls.
Alright, I'll put it in your mouth. It's just terrible. Background.
Oh, sure.
Maybe get it in the background.
Where is my phone? Where did it go?
What are you trying to film? We're not doing. Name here.
Okay, lid is off. Something has siphoned. That's normal for me. So, let's get them out. And there we go. 4 quarts of collards and 4 pints of black-eyed peas. It looks like a perfect New Year's Day meal. Just add some cornbread and a roast. Hey, even macaroni and cheese if you didn't eat too much over Christmas. You guys, thank you so much for joining me. I've loved having you here for 2021, and I'm looking forward to year 2022. I hope you all have a blessed, wonderful, safe, and happy New Year. Until we meet again, may you be blessed.
Happy New Year!